Several reports came from New Vision and other newspapers about discovery of minerals in Lamwo district. And here are 18 things you must know. Let's start with the background and context of the survey. The announcement that Uganda has uncovered major deposits of gold and rare earth minerals in Lamwo and the Greater Karamoja region is the culmination of a 5-year airborne geophysical survey conducted by the Spanish firm Excalibur with technical oversight from Watson and Grant and overseen by Uganda's Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development. The project cost 20 million pounds, about 85 billion Ugandan shillings, financed through a loan facility from Spain. This survey began in 2020 and marks one of Uganda's largest modern efforts to map its underground resources scientifically rather than through ad hoc exploration. The work aligns with the fourth National Development Plan, that is NDP4, which prioritizes sustainable and transparent resource exploration. The second thing that you must know is the significance of Lamwo and Karamoja. Lamwo district lies in northern Uganda along the South Sudan border, while Karamoja covers multiple districts, that is Kotido, Moroto, Napak, Abim, among others. This area has long been associated with pastoralism, insecurity, and underdevelopment. By contrast, Uganda's mineral attention historically focused on southwestern areas like Buweju and Busia. Discovering gold and rare earths in Lamwo and Karamoja therefore signals a geographic shift in Uganda's resource base. It also challenges stereotypes of Karamoja as a resource-poor region and opens the door for industrial transformation in northern Uganda if the government has goodwill and as well in Acholi. The third thing you should know is the key findings of the survey. There was reports of gold deposits. Gold was discovered in multiple locations across Lamwo district and Karamoja. Earlier geological studies already hinted at significant reserves. For instance, an estimated 139,000 ounces of gold with possible reserves of 160,000 ounces in Nakabat, that is Moroto. The new survey confirms and expands these findings with more precise data. There is also rare earth elements. The survey also uncovered rare earth elements such as antimony and niobium. These minerals are crucial for electronics, green energy technologies, and high-tech manufacturing. Uganda's entry into this market could be transformative given global competition for rare earths supply dominated by China. There has also been base and industrial minerals. In addition to gold and rare earths, the survey revealed copper, cobalt, nickel, chrome, and coltan, all essential to battery technology. Renewable energy components and industrial manufacturing are also things which these minerals are very important. Large limestone and marble deposits were mapped in Moroto, Kotido, and Napak districts. More than 300 million tons. Deposits of iron ore and columbite tentatile were also noted. The fourth thing you should know is why this matters for Uganda's development. Uganda's economy is still heavily agrarian, in a simple term, agriculture, with over 70% of the population engaged in smallholder farming. Minerals offer an opportunity to diversify revenue resources, reduce dependence on foreign aid, and generate employment. The Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development has framed these findings as landmark achievement that can unlock Uganda's mineral wealth transparently and sustainably. By digitizing old survey data into national databases, the government hopes to establish a clear, evidence-based licensing process that attracts serious investors rather than speculative or politically connected middlemen. The fifth thing that you should know is there is shifting from speculation to evidence-based licensing. Isaiah Tumikirize, the project manager at the Department of Geological Survey and Mines, emphasized that the new data is a national strategic asset. For decades, Uganda's mineral licensing system was criticized for being speculative. Companies acquired rights without clear geological knowledge, hoping to flip licenses for profit. Now, licensing will be grounded in significantly verified deposits. This is expected to weed out unserious players and attract international investors with technical and financial capacity to develop mines responsibly. The sixth thing that I also want you to know is technology and methodology of the survey. Carlos Velandos from Excalibur Airborne Geographics explained that the team used geology, geophysics, chemistry, and airborne surveys to identify mineral-rich zones and prioritize investment targets. Airborne geophysics involves flying specialized aircraft equipped with sensors to measure variations in the Earth's magnetic and radiometric properties, which reveal the types of rocks and minerals beneath the surface. This method enables large-scale, non-intrusive mapping before ground exploration begins. The seventh thing is economic potential and global context. Rare earths and base metals are among the most sought-after commodities globally, driven by clean energy transition. Cobalt, nickel, and coltan, loved by Apple, those who manufacture iPhone, are indispensable for electric vehicle batteries and smartphones, while niobium and antimony are used in aerospace, electronics, and alloys. If managed well, Uganda could position itself as an African hub for critical minerals at a time when developed economies are seeking to diversify away from Chinese supply chains. However, capturing this opportunity requires not just extraction, but local value addition. For example, refining or processing minerals domestically could help to increase export value. The eighth thing is the voices from the region. Local leaders greeted the announcement with optimism, but also caution. Kutiru LC5 chairperson Paul Lotte Komol expressed relief at the findings and urged the ministry to ensure that the mineral wealth translates into real improvements in livelihoods and changes the narrative of Karamoja. This concern reflects a history of resource exploration in Africa, where communities near mines often remain impoverished without deliberate policies on revenue sharing, infrastructure investment, and environmental management. The new discoveries could worsen inequalities. The ninth thing that you must also know is the previous discoveries and supporting evidence. The airborne survey built upon earlier geological studies indicating 300 million tons of limestone and marble in Moroto, Kotido, and Napak. Copper in Bobong, that is Kotido, chromite in Nakiloro, that is Moroto, iron ore and columbite tantalite across Moroto, Napak, and Kotido. These findings collectively underscores that northern Uganda is geologically diverse and mineral rich, potentially transforming its economic base. The 10th thing is environmental and social considerations. While the government emphasizes transparency and sustainability, mining in ecologically fragile and socially sensitive areas like Karamoja requires careful planning. Now, key issues include land rights. Karamoja has a complex history of communal land ownership, like in Acholi and forced disarmament. Large-scale mining could disrupt traditional livelihoods. There is also environmental safeguards. Rare earth and base metal mining can produce hazardous waste. Proper environmental impact assessment and mitigation plans are essential. Another concern is community participation. The government will need to consult and involve local communities in decision-making, employment, and benefit sharing schemes. Now, this is where a good government in Africa is tested, because most African governments practice nepotism. We will witness what will happen. Now, without robust governance, Uganda risks resource curse dynamics, where mineral wealth fuels corruption, conflict, and environmental degradation. The 11th thing is implications for Uganda's political economy. Uganda's leadership heading into the 2026 elections can leverage this discovery as evidence of economic progress. However, there is also a risk of politicization. Granting exploration licenses to allies or using resource promises to gain electoral support can happen. By digitizing data and emphasizing credible scientific evidence, the ministry is signaling a break with the past. Whether this will hold under political pressure remains to be seen with time. The 12th thing is international partnerships and financing. The use of Spanish financing and expertise reflects Uganda's strategy of diversifying foreign partners beyond traditional donors. The £20 million loan from Spain indicates confidence in Uganda's geological potential, but also creates an obligation to ensure that the project yields returns. In the future, Uganda could attract further bilateral or private sector investment from countries seeking access to critical minerals, potentially reshaping Uganda's foreign policy dynamics. And number 13, on what I need you to know is the next steps: exploration and feasibility studies. Officials stressed that while the discoveries are promising, they are only the first step. Detailed exploration must establish the size, grade, and commercial viability of each deposit. Only after feasibility studies and environmental assessments can actual mining commence. But many people have also argued that this is a time where they used to steal minerals. This phase can take several years, but the data already gives Uganda a powerful bargaining chip in negotiations with investors. The 14th thing is opportunities for local content and value addition. Uganda's policy should focus not only on extraction but also beneficiation, that is processing minerals locally. This includes setting up refineries or smelters for base metals, developing rare earth separation plants, training local geologists and engineers, building supporting infrastructure, that is roads, power, and water. Such measures would ensure job creation, technology transfer, and strong linkages to the wider economy. And now 15 is there is regional impact and cross-border dynamics. Lamwo district's proximity to South Sudan means that mineral development could have cross-border economic and security implications, as well as in Karamoja. Improved infrastructure and employment might reduce cattle rustling and insecurity, but large-scale projects could also attract migration and disputes over resource control. Coordinated regional policies under the East African Community, that is EAC, and the Inter-University Council for East Africa, that is IUCEA, may help standardize mining regulations and environmental standards. Universities should be used as a major tool if Africa must develop. The 16th thing is lessons from other African resource booms. Countries like Botswana, who have diamonds, and Namibia, who have uranium, show that mineral wealth can be a nest for development if governance is strong and having goodwill. By contrast, countries like the DRC illustrate the dangers of weak institutions and conflict minerals. Uganda stands at a crossroads. The new discoveries are a chance to rewrite its mining history, but also a test of its governance capacity. Will it practice nepotism? Will it have goodwill? That's the question for all of you. And number 7 is public awareness and transparency. Plus news and the Observer's extensive coverage, including New Vision, itself signals growing public interest. Transparent communication of survey results, licensing processes, and revenue flows will be critical if building trust must be made. Civil society organizations can play a role in monitoring contracts and environmental compliance, not only UPDF. Lastly, which is 18, the conclusion, is a turning point for Uganda's mineral future. The discovery of gold, rare earths, and base metals in the Lamwo district and Karamoja is more than a headline. It represents a structural shift from Uganda's resource landscape. It offers a chance to industrialize the North, attract serious investors, and integrate Uganda into global supply chains for critical minerals. Yet, the outcome is not predetermined. The government must balance economic ambition with environmental stewardship, community rights, and transparent governance. If it succeeds, this moment could echo decades into the future as the point when Uganda transitions from speculation to science, from marginalization to opportunity. Thank you.